All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first Lumberjack Family Chat for this session of our orientation webinars. We're going to do a quick land acknowledgement. Okay, so Northern Arizona University sits at the base of the San Francisco Peaks on homeland sacred to Native Americans throughout the region. We honor their past, present, and future generations who have lived here for millennia and will forever call this place home. And we'll start today. I will introduce myself. My name is Maggie Tom. I'm the program director for FACS. That stands for Family Access, Communication, Transition, and Support. And we have the privilege of working with families throughout their beginnings of their students' college journey through to graduation. And I will pass it over to Micheline, my coworker.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Micheline. I'm the community program coordinator for the FACS program working with Maggie, and I'm really excited that you're all here this evening. And I'm going to pass it over to Annika.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Annika Olson, and I work with the entire enrollment management team. And I also am a parent of two college students, one that is entering his senior year and one that just completed her first year. So super excited to be with all of you to answer some of your questions. And I will send it over to Margaret.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Margot Saltonstall, representing Student Affairs, and Student Affairs includes many of the units that we're going to talk about this evening, a lot of the co-curricular services and programs that support students in their first year and through to graduation. And I'm excited to be here with you tonight. I'll move it over to the Dean of Students, Megan.
Thanks, Margot. Hi, all. Really excited to know there's nearly 200 family members on the call. As Margot said, I serve as Dean of Students here at NAU and also have an incoming freshman. So as much as I'll be sharing information, I will be listening tonight. So excited to learn along with you all. And I'm happy to introduce Megan Proctor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Proctor. I work with our admissions and enrollment services team, and I am excited to be here tonight.
All right, so I'm going to go over how the evening is going to work. We had questions came in from an email that you all received when you registered for this webinar, and we went through and figured out all the major themes and different things that we're going to answer. And then at the very end, if we have time for questions, we'll go to the questions that are being put in the chat. Feel free to put questions in the chat while we're all talking. There are people here to help answer those questions. We'll also be sharing a bunch of links in the chat for the different answers that our panelists are giving. So don't feel like you have to memorize all of the information. Also, all of our webinars are going to be recorded, so you can come back. And last but certainly not least, we are always available to contact if you ever have any questions about your students' transition to NAU. So feel free to throw your own name, where you're joining us from, what you're most excited about your student coming to NAU in the chat. We would love to know who's with us tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and ask questions, and then our panelists are going to answer those questions. So first question that we got was, what resources are available for students facing mental health challenges?
Great. Thanks, Maggie. Again, this is Megan Gavin, and I have the pleasure of answering this question, or at least starting the answer to the question. I think in my role previously as Director of Counseling Services, I've had the privilege to learn a lot about various resources available regarding mental health challenges, anywhere from stress and adjustment to college, all the way to folks who might want and need more formal services available here on campus or in the surrounding community or communities. So I would first want to start with We have very high level support for all students on campus through things like stress management programs and workshops, resources, et cetera, through our health promotion department. We train all of our community assistants in the campus living communities around how to identify and support students who might be in distress or who might benefit from resources related to mental health challenges. We also oftentimes train instructors within the NAU community to identify and support students around distress. And so from a high level, folks are here, they're prepared, and they're ready to support students because we know the transition to college in particular, whether you are a new incoming student or a transfer student, can be a difficult time. More formally, we also have a full range of clinical services available to students, whether they want to, again, talk about the transition to college, relationship issues, previous diagnoses and things that they might have been managing prior to coming to NAU, if they want medication management, et cetera. Campus Health offers full range of services. And so you'll learn more about that, I believe, in the chat. And we have 24/7 available services for students, as well as many different types of groups and workshops. So I think I'll pause there. Folks would be happy to add on to that, but I'm pleased to say wide range of resources depending on the student need, et cetera.
Thanks, Megan. Our next question is, what specific programs and or resources are available to help first-year students integrate into NAU?
Okay, well, this question, we have a variety of different kinds of things that are available for students, and not unlike what Megan said, we really across campus are prepared to support students, make sure that they are getting integrated, feeling at home, finding a community, and have several ways that that happens in the campus living communities, as well as programs outside of campus living. So I would highlight that we have peer mentoring, and that comes from a variety of offices and different kinds of opportunities for students to connect to peers who've been in their shoes, who maybe just a year ago or 2 years ago were facing the same things, and really can talk to students in a way that they can really relate to, right? So peer mentoring is the #1 way that I would say students can really have a buddy who can help them figure out their way around and answer questions that they're having about being on campus. We also have lots of clubs and organizations, from the skate club to fraternity and sorority life to esports, you name it, we probably have a club for it. And so that's another way for students to really get involved and find a group. We have club fairs, and students can attend those fairs just to learn about what's even available. And those will be things that happen early in the semester, and then also a couple weeks in, so students, you know, maybe can catch their breath and then think about finding those groups that they can connect to. And then importantly, I would also want you to know that we have smaller classes on campus, that probably your students are in at least one of these classes, the first year seminar, or maybe NAU 100, or maybe Honors 100. These smaller classes really intentionally look at building community. And so we have a variety of ways, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom in campus life, for students to really find their affinity groups, to help ease the transition a little bit, places where they can ask questions and get resources, and really get acclimated to being here at NAU in their first term.
Right, and I'd love to put a shameless plug out there for what was just put in the chat. The EDGE Leadership Program can be a great way for students to actually come to campus a few days early and engage with a small cohort of first year or new students around leadership, engagement, meet some other folks that have been here for several years, get acquainted with the university, and get connected early on. So if you'd like to, if you or your student would like to learn more about the EDGE Leadership Program, I strongly encourage you to take a peek at that link in the chat and consider applying.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan and Margot. Our next question was our most asked question, and it is around, when do students sign up for classes? Who do they need to contact? What does that process look like?
Great. So before I answer the most asked question, which I know is everyone's like, oh, it's the most asked, so I'm gonna pay attention here. We are answering the questions that have been asked in Q&A. Our team members that are online are working to answer those, some of which are already queued up. We're also working in the chat. And we will also put mine, Margot's, and Megan's emails in the chat as well. So if we miss a question, or you talk with your student later and need some additional counsel, we are more than happy to be available between now and the start of school and beyond, because we want to make sure you are comfortable as parents. And I know all three of us have had resources available to us as parents of college students and have really been helpful for us, even though you know, we work at an institution and are familiar with a lot of the language and processes. How does my student get their classes? So the first thing I can tell you is please encourage your student to continue to check their email. That is the official form of communication for students and will remain through their time with us. If they don't check their NAU email, little hack that we always give students is to forward it to your Gmail or whatever email you do pay attention to. Be sure to do so. So there's a little hack for you. Make sure your student is paying attention to those things, because then we would have known that they need to complete priority enrollment. So advising is a 3-step process. The first is to complete priority enrollment. And that is kind of reconfirming with students their major that they have selected on their admissions application, any additional coursework they may have taken. They may have decided to take an additional AP class, or have added a community college class in terms of dual enrollment or summer work. So they can do that. And you can see the website. Thanks, Maggie, for throwing that up there. So step 1 is priority enrollment, and they will need their Louis logon. That is their way they do business, and log on to all the systems on campus to complete that priority enrollment. If you're like, Annika, my students did that like back in March and April, cool. Step number 2 is to complete their online module. So this is an online information to show them the NAU tools. There's the advising module. And if your student's an honors student, then we also want them to do the honors advising module, because that's a slightly different system. The third step in the 3-step process is to schedule their advising appointment. And you can see the link there. That advising appointment link is helpful if, but they have to have completed those first 2 things first. So that priority enrollment kind of updates and confirms information for their academic advisor. We want to make sure they understand the system that you'll be working in for that online appointment. And so 3-step processes. After that, they'll have their academic schedule.
Great. Thanks, Annika. Our next question has to do around academic support. So how does NAU ensure first-year students get the academic support they need to succeed?
I'll jump in on this one, Maggie. The Academic Success Centers are the focal areas for providing academic support on campus. We partner with lots of different academic units to make sure that students feel supported in a variety of different ways and in a variety of different styles. So in many of our smaller classes, students are able to make a stronger connection with their faculty member. You know, it's easier to make connections with other students, to create study groups and things like that. And so we often see that our bigger courses are the courses where students are feeling like they need more academic support. We have tutoring across a variety of different disciplines for small and big classes. And what we have designed for the bigger classes is something called supplemental instruction. And that's a chance for students to meet outside of the big class environment with a peer who's successfully taken the course in a prior semester. and work through the kinds of things that were said maybe in a bigger lecture, and ask questions and review and talk about the tests that are coming up, or process maybe a test that you've already taken and some things that you missed. So those supplemental instruction sections are really a great opportunity for students to get the academic support that they need. There's also a way to look up the different kinds of courses that you might be in and find out what kind of support is available. It might be that you have an embedded tutor in your math class, or it might be that you have tutoring in a nearby building. So there's a variety of different kinds of supports, and the Academic Success Center website can give you more information about exactly what kind of support is available for the courses that your students are enrolled in.
Okay. The next question has to
Is
do with go ahead,
financial
Jessica. It's
I'm
financial
ready.
aid, yes.
I've captured some of the things happening in chat to answer kind of in the all like payments, financial aid. My student applied and got one merit scholarship. They might apply for a higher scholarship, all those things. So let's just get into it. So first, how can my students see if they're awarded a scholarship? Over 97% of our students are awarded a scholarship shortly after they're admitted to the institution, and they can find that scholarship on their student service center when they log into Louie. In that student service center, they can also make you as a parent or a guardian, they can give you access to that. So again, another great hack is to have them give you access to that. So you can not only make payments if that's what they need you to do, but also view some of the information. So your students can see that in Louie, see their merit scholarship. You also will see charges, and all the charges should be out there in about a week from Monday. And then you can see anticipated financial aid. Now, there is some financial aid that a student needs to accept for us to be able to disperse it to them. And disbursement is the term we use to release the aid to your student. And so grants and scholarships, that's money that is given in what we call gift aid, doesn't need to be repaid. Loans need to be accepted, and a student needs to go through some entrance counseling for their loans, and they need to accept either the full amount, partial amount, or they can also decline their loans if they want to. They can look at the charges that are out there and anticipated aid. And if you're like, I thought the scholarship was more, we award 50% in the fall and the other 50% in the spring. And likewise, you're only charged for half of the total housing, dining, and tuition costs as well. Another great resource is you should have received, we mailed them all in May, a financial aid award letter. And if you look at that and you're like, I don't understand it, Megan or one of our team members will put in the chat right now our student service center phone number. You can call and we can schedule a time, or right on the phone, we can walk you through it, because it is not always easy to understand, and we know that. So we want to make sure you feel super comfortable in doing so. I think, how do families figure out their out-of-pocket costs? So the way to do the out-of-pocket cost is charges minus that financial aid, and then what's left is your out-of-pocket costs. That is also on your financial aid award letter. And again, if you don't have access to any of this, your student needs to give you access before we can share that information with you. But a great way to do it is call that the phone number that Megan put up there. We can schedule a time for both you and your students on a Zoom call, or just a speakerphone call, so we can talk to you both at the same time, because they will need to understand this going forward as well. Now, a couple of questions that were asked in the Q&A are, my student wants federal work study. They may have been awarded federal work study, But they may not have, it's based on need as calculated by the federal government. So if you have a Pell Grant or an SEOG grant or something like that and don't have federal work study, that's when you email annika.olson@nau.edu, and I will connect you with our team in financial aid to look to add that as an award. So again, if someone can put my email, since I can't chat and talk at the same time, it's really hard for me to multitask doing that. So that's how we can look at that federal work study. If your student applied and received one of our scholarships and then got straight A's in their scholarship, their GPA of their core GPA may have changed to be higher, then they can submit a transcript to us, which you have to do anyway for your final high school transcript, and we can recalculate that scholarship. The other thing to understand, a covered parent asks this, is how does my student get their financial aid? And so a couple things need to be all right in the world for us to disperse and give that aid to your student. And the one that is the most challenging for students to get done is that final high school transcript. So the final high school transcript with their graduation posted on it, their graduation date on it, we need by in the month of July. So when August comes, we can give them their financial aid. And that is a federal government regulation. It's not a rule that NAU comes, that's wherever they're attending, that has to be in place for us to award them aid. We send that financial aid to their student account 10 days before the start of the term. Again, by federal regulation, that's the earliest we can give we can send the student aid to the student account. So the student account is where all the charges lives, and then financial aid pays some or all of those charges. And that aid is sent 10 days before the start of the term. I think I answered all the questions and a couple that were just thrown at me in chat. But if I didn't, I can talk financial aid and cost for a long time. But let's head to our next set of questions.
All right, so we have a couple of fun questions sprinkled in amongst all the great resources and program questions. So this next one from our panelists, if you could give one piece of advice to our incoming students, what would it be? And I'm going to start with Megan.
All right, thanks, Maggie. I love going first. And actually, Margot already hinted at NAU offers numerous ways for your students to get involved. Of course, because I support the involvement team, finding one of the 350 clubs and orgs is a great way for students to find others that might have similar interests. But there are many other ways to get involved, and we highly recommend that because it's a great way to begin to create your support system and your, your home away from home. Folks can do research while they're here on campus. They can join a lab and work with instructors. They can get involved in ultramurals. I think I saw a question already about that in the chat, how to get involved in sport clubs and ultramurals. Res halls and community living always have great opportunities for students, from activities to involvement opportunities. And then the broader community in which your student might live, whether it's Flagstaff or other parts of the state, has great ways to get involved. So highly recommend that your student find at least one way to get involved. And in fact, I told my son he cannot come to college unless he guarantees he'll do that. So that's my recommendation.
That's a great one. Margot, we'll head over to you for this question.
Awesome. Well, I know Annika and Megan already mentioned that they have college students. I have a college student who just finished his freshman year, and this is one of the pieces of advice that I gave him, which is, well, I guess there's two pieces. One is go to class. Go to all your classes. Don't skip class. Go to class. It's the most important way to learn what you're here to learn, and also really to make friends and to get integrated into your major. And my little tip around the first day of class is to sit in the front third of the class. We are creatures of habit, and you might not think about it, but you always go back to that seat that you sat in on the first day of class. So pick a good seat up front. Doesn't have to be in the first row, but be in a place where you're not anonymous, where you're engaging with your professors, where you're able to really see what's happening and hear what's happening really well in your classroom. And I think that really will set you off on the right foot for starting class here at NAU.
Awesome.
Annika?
Well, so much advice, and I still seek advice from Margot, and I'm excited that Megan's gonna join the college parent team as well here. But the one thing that I think is challenging as a parent, it certainly was for me, is the shifting of the relationship of wanting to fix it and do it for your student. Wait, you didn't get work study? Let me call in and fix that for you, and coaching them to really advocate for themselves and to problem solve themselves. So that is, it's challenging because, you know, there were times that and even this morning I was leaving for work, and my college student that just finished her first year, she's a college athlete, and we're working with her coach in terms of a job for her when she gets back to school. And I said, oh, do you want me to reach out to Coach R and ask her about, and she goes, don't you think that's something I should be doing? And I was like, she left, and I was like, wow, I feel kind of reprimanded there. But that's awesome. It's exactly what I wanted her to say. And Margo knows, my daughter, so knows that she would tell me something like that and not think to turn around and go to the track to start her workout. So as much as you want to do it for them, really, you know, take a beat, maybe ask a question back is a great tactic. Or what do you think the best way to move forward is? Have you talked to your resident advisor or community advisor in the hall? Have you talked to your professor? Professors aren't scary. They're there to help you. So those are some of the things some of the pieces of advice. And one of the best pieces of advice I got from our dean of students from many years ago is, you will get the phone call late at night and they will be crying, or there's a big problem, I just failed a test, whatever it is, there'll be a big problem. And a lot of times you will stay up thinking about that problem for the rest of the night. And they will go to bed and have a great night's sleep because they just kind of gave it to you, right? And so just be aware. And it was like 2 weeks into my oldest first term, and he called. He was super upset, didn't know if he can handle the course loads, and it was very upsetting. And we hung up. I checked in with him the next day. He goes, oh no, I'm fine. I was like, oh, okay, well, I got no sleep, but cool. That was my lesson learned there. So moving to a more of a coaching role is key.
Awesome. And I do want to acknowledge that I know the chat is moving really fast. There's questions being answered, questions not being answered. Any of the questions, like Annika said earlier, that are not answered today, you can always email us. We'll put our emails in the chat. We also have a family resources at nau.edu that you can always email, and we're happy to get you to the right person to answer your question. Okay, so the next question has to do with, how does NAU advocate for students facing academic or personal difficulties? And that included some questions around disability services, student conduct, and food insecurity.
Right, Maggie, I'll take this one. It's Megan. First, I would just like to say that my experience at NAU, which is going on 23 years, indicates that individuals and departments do a tremendous job of collaborating around student concerns, whether they're academic concerns, personal concerns, extenuating circumstances, etc. And so I hope that you all have that experience should your student bump up against some concerns. A little bit more officially, I would say Maggie's already made a nod to a couple ways in which we support students. Disability resources is absolutely a primary department on campus for students who either previously had a formal plan, either a formal educational plan or 504 plan, where they could now come to NAU and receive services to support a level playing field for them from an academic perspective. But also sometimes issues emerge while a student is at NAU. And oftentimes faculty and or others will help a student identify that and get them connected to disability resources for a meeting, an evaluation, et cetera. From the personal difficulties or extenuating circumstances side, the Lumberjack Care Team, which I think you'll get some information in the chat about, is probably one of the primary offices on campus and to which students are either referred or self-referred around something that might be going on, something at home, something with them personally here on campus, even academic concerns, et cetera. And the care team will reach out to each and every student who is referred to them to offer them appropriate and tailored support and resources. And then the care team does a lot of collaborating behind the scenes, perhaps with advising, perhaps with campus health staff members, perhaps with faculty members, et cetera, to try to work around those students' needs and ensure that they can, when appropriate and when they want to, stay at the institution and stay on track. Really high level, but happy to talk to anybody behind the scenes or offline a little bit more in depth about that.
Okay, our next question I've seen a couple of times in the chat, and it is one of our also most popular questions, has to do around, should students bring their cars to campus? How do they buy a parking permit? What does our transportation around campus look like? How are their kiddos getting to class?
We love the parking question. So parking permits can't be bought until August 1. That's when they open up for the following year, and parking permits are for the year. So even for faculty and staff, we don't purchase until August 1st. I would advise not to bring a car to campus. There's a couple reasons why. We have an amazing transportation system on campus, so students can track it on their phone. On the NAU Go app, and you too, as parents, can sign up for the NAU Go app and download it. And so if you wanted to track buses, how about it? But they can track to where they are, particularly when it's a little snowy out. That's helpful, so they don't have to be outside in the cold too long. And so that transportation system goes through campus, and there's different lines, and students navigate that quite well. We also partner with our Mountain Line, which is our Flagstaff bus system, also travels through campus. So students can get pretty much anywhere on the west side of Flagstaff, and there's a Target and a Walmart and a ton of off-campus shopping and restaurant options that they can travel for free with their student ID. And that's part of what that transportation fee helps pay for. My student, who's an out-of-state athlete, like I said, elsewhere, she did not bring a car to campus first year. And I heard about it a couple times, but she also made friends that had cars and also figured out her local transportation, which has proved invaluable. So again, lots of different options for students. We're a very bikeable and skateboardable campus as well. Do suggest wearing helmets, however. So yeah, students, you'll see lots of different rollerblades seem to be making a comeback as well. So lots of different ways students navigate campus. Students also walk campus from north to south. It only takes about 15-20 minutes. So definitely doable to get from class to class with the bus system on campus or walking.
Great. Okay, next topic is also a hot topic in all the chats and in our questions, has to do with housing. So questions are from, where can students go to sign up for move-in? How do students know what dorm they've been assigned to? We talk a little bit about packing, roommates, and then last but certainly not least, housing payments.
Okay, keep me honest here and make sure I hit all of those, Maggie. First of all, we'll put in the chat the link for signing up for move-in. Move-in will start for most students on the 21st, Wednesday, the 21st, and you'll pick a time when you follow that link. It'll give you a 40-minute window. It's really important to sign up for a moving time because we have 10,000 students who live on campus. And so to make sure that you can park an approximate place to your campus living community, that the welcome jacks aren't completely overwhelmed, you know, with one time, but they can really help you move your stuff in. That's what the moving times are all about, really, so that we don't get congested just at one time and then are kind of fighting each other in the halls to get our stuff into the room. So the website that Micheline just put in, you can pick a time to move in, and that's really easy to do. Let's see. How do you know if you where you're living and what your room assignment is? Some people may have already gotten their room assignment. Students who have selected a roommate maybe many months ago might have already got that information. You'll get an email about that. We are doing assignments right now, so it is not atypical if you haven't received your assignment for that not to have happened yet. You'll get an email, and that your student will get an email. It'll drive them to the housing portal, and that's where they'll actually see their room assignment. Those are assigned based on your date of application. So we're just rolling through that process this summer, getting everyone assigned into different places. So watch your email. As Annika was saying, make sure you're watching your NAU email because that's where Campus Living will be contacting you. What to bring, what not to bring, I think is some of the things that Maggie was mentioning that you wanted to know about. And I saw several things in the chat. There's a list on the website, and we can add that to the chat about what to bring. And we have that in 3 categories, right? What's essential, what's a maybe, and then what you shouldn't bring. So I saw in the chat, should I bring my own desk? I'm going to say definitively no, that there probably is not room for any kind of desk, that there already will be the furniture that the room comes with, including the desk and the chair and the bed. And we won't have a way to swap those out. So having an extra desk is not going to work. Some of the maybe things that you might want to have are much smaller things that could be useful, like storage bins, maybe some removable adhesive hooks. You might want to bring pictures or a small lamp or a small throw rug. So you can see on our list here that really even the maybe stuff is kind of small. And then essentials really are more about the things that you're going to need: clothing, bedding, laptop, important documents, and maybe health and hygiene type things. So we see students, you know, generally surprised by the cooler weather and maybe without a jacket. So that'd be something on the top of my list for you, especially because you might not be thinking about that in August when you come. So though that list is a really great reference for you and your student to think about what's going to fit, what's super important, and what's a maybe as you're sort of going through your list of things to bring. You can sign up for, I see the question right now, you can sign up for a move-in time right now. So if you follow that link, you should be able to go to the move-in website and pick your time even while we're talking right now. And then
if the student has to use their Louis login to get into that housing portal, so you can't do it as a parent, but you can coach them to go to that housing portal. Move-in times, all the things are living there. It's a really easy portal to utilize. Sorry, Margot. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Great reminder. Great reminder. So payment dates. Unlike tuition, you do not have to sign up for a payment plan for housing. We already have 3 scheduled payment dates to break up that payment. So with tuition and fees, if you want to pay across the semester, you have to sign up for a payment plan, but that's not the case for housing. It's already set out in 3 different payments. So the first one is August 19th. Then September 15th, and then October 15th. And all that information can also be found on the Campus Living website for reference as well, with a little more detail about things that might apply to some of the other questions you've been asking.
I want to jump into one of the things that's related to residence halls, and it's in Q&A about dorm theft. Dorm theft is really often a crime of opportunity, where a student who's living in the room decides to open their door, which is great for community building as students are walking by, like, hey, oh, I see you're from San Jose, California. I'm from the Bay Area too. Or, you know, those conversations definitely happen. But when the room is not occupied, closing and locking the door is certainly encouraged. And as the year progresses, we often find that behavior of locking the door behind you sometimes doesn't continue. So just that is really encouraged. Our residence halls are locked 24/7. So the students that live there have access by way of their ID card, which is often on their cell phone. They can also opt for a plastic card, but most do have it digitally. And so that's how they access the halls. And so it really is safe. And then we also encourage downloading for you the NAU Safe app, which I think Megan or Margot was going to talk about.
Yes, that was our next question. What measures are in place to ensure that students are safe on campus?
Well, I mean, Annika just alluded to it. We'd encourage you all to download the Safe app, which gives notifications if there were some kind of large scale emergency on campus. It would also follow up with a notification of, you know, everything's all clear. We have a fully accredited police department here on campus. We have, as Annika was also mentioning, as students go in and out of their campus living communities, they use their ID cards, which they can have on their phones. There are front desk attendants in the campus living communities. And so there's a lot of safety measures in place around campus. And importantly, we have the Safe app here. We want to make sure that you also understand that that's not the same thing as the NAU Go app, which would have more typical activity type thing, maybe some other announcements getting pushed out. So Safe app would be really dedicated to only those essential messages around safety. So would encourage you to download that as well as to get the more regular updates from the NAU Go app.
All right. Our next question has to do with how NAU keeps parents informed about important campus news and events. And I'm happy to talk about one of those things. It's called the Lumberjack Family Hub. So if you all are not signed up for that already, you can sign up by going to families.nau.edu. Our office, Facts and Family Resources, runs that and curates it with over 46 campus partners every single month to bring you all the most up-to-date information, things to help you move into that coaching role for your student, to know when finals are, when tuition's due, when financial aid's dropping. That's a specific resource that we have just for families that we're super proud of, and have a bunch of information in there for you. So I would encourage you all to sign up for that. You'll get special announcements as well as newsletters. And Margot and just went over the NAU Go app is another great resource for you as well. Okay, how does NAU foster a diverse and inclusive environment for all students?
We have all kinds of students coming from various places around the country and around the world. And it's important for us to think about the different viewpoints and perspectives and lived experiences that they have and honor those and share them and learn from each other. So it is a priority for us to have an inclusive campus. And we think it's important for all students to find an affinity group. So that might be students who want to come together around being out-of-state students or being Arizona residents or being affiliated with a particular cultural group. And we have a variety of ways that students can get connected to each other based on their identities in a variety of different ways. So we have an Office of Inclusion and a center where students can spend different times and feel connected to different cultural groups. We have a Veterans Center where we have student veterans who may be connecting with each other. We have those peer mentoring programs that can connect students on a variety of different aspects of their identity. And then clubs and organizations are also a great way for students to find common interests and find groups where they share those common interests and can pursue those common interests here in Flagstaff. So inclusion is very important. You'll also see that students have the experience in their classrooms where they see a broad range of diversity of thought and trying to think in an inclusive way, think in a pluralistic way is going to be part of the NAU experience.
Okay, what can families expect for orientation/lumberjack welcome this year?
Annika, you want to dive in there, or do you want me to dive in there around a couple pieces?
You're on mute.
Well, someone had to stay on mute and start talking. It wouldn't really be a Zoom webinar if someone didn't do it. So I was caught up in the loan entrance counseling piece. That's a to-do list. If it says it's past due, we can't give your student that loan until they clear that item. So the sooner the better on all of those things. But what can families expect for orientation and Lumberjack Welcome? As Margot said, move-in starts on the 21st. And I did notice that someone just logged into the housing portal and says it opens in August. So that you can pick your time in August, but I will say I know there's some making out-of-state travel plans. There's plenty of times every hour. Those are scheduled every hour throughout the day and into the evening. So I would say as an out-of-state person that likes to plan in advance for the best airplane deals, book your flight and and then when that opens in August, go in and grab a time that works given your flight and travel times. There's usually plenty of times. But so Lumberjack, for orientation, your student has been communicated with throughout the spring through a Lumberjack orientation newsletter, getting them ready for what to expect, and also sharing what they still need to do in terms of that final high school transcript. If they need to send us their immunization records, all of those things, they're getting those emails. And so again, that email is really critical. And then they also were invited to jump into the orientation class, which is in the learning system that they'll use throughout their time at NAU. It's where they'll submit homework and they'll interact with professors when they're not in class. All of the thing, it's called Canvas. You don't need to remember that. It's just the learning tool that we utilize on campus. And that's where that orientation class lives. So there's some different modules students can click into and learn more. So that's a piece that they can get into now and kind of choose your own adventure and complete at your own time frame. And then when they join us on the 21st or throughout that weekend, there's a bunch of different activities. And really one of the highlights is Lumberjack Welcome, which is Friday morning, the 23rd. And that is followed by receptions at their college where their major is housed, where they get to meet with faculty and learn more about their college and go to that area. Throughout that weekend, though, there's a club and organization fair to make sure students have front and center all the clubs and organizations we have, and just lots of fun that happens there. There's a job fair. So if your student waits and doesn't really want to work at trying to find a job now, using the tools available, they can do that in that first part of the semester. There's a ton of different social activities too. There's usually a big concert. The rec center in our big Olympic size pool usually has a movie that is somewhat oceanic themed, sometimes Finding Nemo, sometimes Jaws. So, so a bunch of students in a big pool with floaties, and it's super fun. So lots of different activities, and those will be sent to your student and also on that NAU Go app. So another great reason for you to download that NAU Go app, and we'll start loading those different events as they're solidified and fully planned throughout that time. Megan, did I miss anything?
No, you really didn't. I'm very impressed, although not surprised. I would say on the Lumberjack Welcome website, which I believe has been pasted into the chat, there's a shameless plug for a video that I think gives you a sense of what Lumberjack Welcome looks like for our students. And then I believe, and please folks correct me if I'm wrong, there are 2 different family mingles one on August 22nd and one on August 23rd. I'm guessing those will come out in terms of the hub and information to families, but really great opportunities for families to meet one another and have an opportunity to connect with staff here on campus. I plan to attend the Friday morning one if anybody wants to meet me there.
All right, we have questions around meal plans. Are they required for first-year students?
Yes, they are required for students who live on campus. We know that students need to have consistent and nutritious food to do well academically, and students who are new freshmen live in traditional campus living communities where there's a common kitchen, but not the opportunity to cook every meal, or even most meals. As students move on, they can certainly move on to their sophomore and junior year. They can certainly move into apartments on campus, and then they're not required to have meal plans. But students in their first year who live on are required to have a meal plan.
The other thing, are the suites considered on campus? They are on campus, but they're not managed by our campus campus living team. We're in partnership with those, so they're physically on our campus, but kind of considered off campus, if that makes sense. Margo, anything to add on that one? Okay, no. There was something about where do parents only stay on the 21st? It's kind of a choose your own adventure. As a parent that dropped off a student a couple times now, one of them, because it was out of state, I ended up staying throughout the weekend of move-in, but definitely not necessary. The one that was more local, it was kind of move in and I'll call me when you're ready kind of situation. So kind of depends on your travel schedule. As Megan mentioned, there's a couple of those family events too that we'd love to see you at.
Yeah, and we will also be handing out first-year family calendars at our family event too. So if you want to get a calendar, they're super cute this year. They've got stickers. We have those available in both English and Spanish. So definitely stop by and say hello and grab a calendar. Would one of you be able to touch on getting a job on campus, both with or without federal work study? I know we touched on federal work study a little bit earlier, but how might a student go about applying for a job?
I'll start with just jobs in general, and then if Annika has anything to add about federal work study, she can chime in on that too. So students go really to one place called Handshake, and we can put that link to the website in the chat here. And students will be able to see employers on campus as well as off campus. And I saw an earlier question about an internship. Handshake is also the place where you can find internships. So it's really a one-stop place. Jobs are being added. Certainly this time of year, it might be kind of quiet, but as we get a little bit closer to the beginning of the semester, we'll start to see academic departments, campus rec, campus dining, some of the bigger employers on campus adding those positions. And then throughout the year, positions will also be added on Handshake that students can see. And it's a great tool to start to use early, because later on, there'll be some things related to career fairs and other kinds of activities through our career development office that students will want to be familiar with and engage in as they go across their college journey.
On the federal work study piece, I know there's been a few, we touched on it earlier. My student doesn't have it, they want it, or they requested it. Where are they in the process? Again, you can email me directly or call that student service center that has been put in the chat as well to check up on that. Federal work study, or FWS, is a way that offsets the university from paying a student, like if they're getting paid $15 an hour. Federal work study pays for 70% of that wage, and the university pays the other 30%. Now, if they're capped at like $2,000, that's split over 2 terms, so $1,000 first semester, $1,000 second semester. But typically what happens as departments, we couldn't really function effectively as we do without our student employees. I mean, they are a critical part of, I know all of the offices represented here, but certainly offices throughout campus as well. So not all of our jobs are work study, although we love to hire work study because I can hire more students or I can give them more hours based on that 70-30 ratio. But once a student has used up their work study for that term, as a department, we typically convert them to what we call student wage. The student doesn't know any different. That once they're hired, they get paid every 2 weeks, just like other employees at the institution. And the benefit of them working on campus is that we understand midterms, we understand projects and group work and finals and breaks. And so we sometimes students want to stay through those breaks and work, but most of the time they want to go home and hang out with you. And so we are very flexible in terms of that because, again, they are a student first. But we understand that a majority of our students typically do like to have a job on campus or while in college.
And there's definitely been some questions in the chat regarding how parents pay for things, more stuff on financial aid. So I would also just like to remind everybody about those webinars. Financial aid is doing a couple different webinars along with student and departmental account services, where they go into great detail on all of those questions. If you can't attend those webinars live, that's totally okay. We have them all recorded, so you can go back. And again, if you have any questions, you should have all of our contact information. Okay, we have kind of our last little fun question, which would be.
But let me answer one more that came in chat because this is probably important too, and bears repeating. Your student can go in and give you authorized access. They can pick a couple different people to give authorized access so you can have view into the charges and have the ability to make payment. They can pick and choose what you have access to. But your student needs to grant you access. Sorry, Maggie. Now on to the fun.
No, that's okay. I know, actually one not fun thing before the fun thing. The question just came in about seeing students' grades. Does somebody want to go over FERPA really, really quick?
I'm unmuted, and I'm getting like funny looks from my colleagues. So I'm just kidding. Same way, your student has to give you access. And so FERPA is the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. Again, a federal law, not something that NAU cooked up to make seeing your students' grades a challenge. They also worth a conversation about with your students to keep you updated on how they feel they're doing, and great conversation starter there. Especially after the first couple of weeks. The first couple of weeks, they might say, I got this, it's no problem. And then, reality might set in and like, this is different than high school. So definitely a great conversation starter and questions to ask your student. But also the student has access and they can go in and decide, and that link is there from Megan, thank you. Where a student can go in and give you access. They can pick and choose, again, what you see. Your class schedule is one. The grades are another of them, a couple different options that are out there. So again, it kind of is that new relationship where in high school you had access to all of that, or at least until they were 18. And medical records and all of that shifts when they turn 18, which is typically most of our students are 18 by the time they start with us. The FERPA law though is when a student is enrolled, and that's when that kicks in. So now if, as an enrolled student, as a committed student coming to the institution, that's when that comes on. And so again, they will you can use that FERPA link to have them grant you access. And so they'll need to use their Louis login to go in and select the items that, whether it's grades, their course schedule, and else that they will need to. And that's at that FERPA website. If when in doubt, you can always go to nau.edu and search housing move-in, FERPA, any of payment dates, any of those things.
Yeah, that is another great reason to join the hub. The FERPA access that you are granted from your student will show up in the Lumberjack Family Hub. So families.nau.edu. And there is a video that walks you through the process of how you request that and how your student can accept and decide what to give you access to. All right, very last question. Fun question. What is your favorite hidden gem on NAU's campus? And I will start with Margot this time.
Okay, well, I like the coffee shop in the library because, newsflash, you can now have food and drink in the library, and it's really a social space. There's still plenty of books in there and plenty of media in there, but there's lots of group study areas, and it really has just a different vibe than libraries of yesterday. So the coffee shop, Scholars Corner, near the library is hidden gem for me. And while I have a little bit of airtime, I did put it in the chat, but I gave you some wrong information about the move-in. It's not available right now. Housing will send you will send your student a mailer that will link in early August, that will link to the portal where you can sign up for a moving time. So I want to make sure to correct that here. Also, some more information in the chat.
Thanks, Margot. Megan, what is your favorite hidden gem on campus?
Thanks, Maggie. I just had to cross move-in time off my to-do list as a parent, so thanks, everyone. My favorite hidden gem is another coffee shop, but also they have amazing scones and other goodies. So in the hotel and restaurant management building, there is a student-run coffee shop, and they do a fabulous job, and it's usually pretty quiet, and there's a lot of great seating and a fireplace, etc. So great place for students to go. And then right outside of the coffee shop is a courtyard that nobody goes to and is absolutely gorgeous, private, quiet, beautiful blooms in the spring, etc.
Awesome. Annika, favorite hidden gem?
I mean, I just like walking up and down the pedway and watching students living life on campus. And so our entire campus is my hidden gem. I mean, north part of campus is amazing because it's all of our history and historical buildings. There's some cool galleries. So whether you're up here for move-in or family weekend or whatever, you can always cruise up there as a parent. So, I mean, if I'm arm twisting, I love the scones that Megan mentioned, and I'm always up for a cup of coffee. However, I think just when you are walking and looking up at the peaks, there's just nothing better, whether it's snowing, raining, or a beautiful sunny day, or the fall colors are out like my background. I mean, it just hits every single time. I know we threw a ton at you today. We will put together an email and send it out to all of you with all the links that we shared, so you have it all in one place. Maybe in that as well, Maggie, you can put the email addresses mentioned as well, because we know there was a lot, and coffee shops are included in different ways, and kind of value menus and different ways in our meal plans as well. So that's one last question to get, because we've mentioned coffee a lot here in the last couple of minutes.
All right, well, thank you so much to our panelists, Margot, Megan, Annika, three of the best people on our NAU campus. They're great if you have any questions, always very approachable and helpful. Myself and Micheline are also here for you. So if you ever have any questions, just remember that not only does your student have support at NAU, but you also have the support of us as well, while you go through a major transition in your life too. Thank you all so much for coming. And like Annika said, we will send out that email with all those different links and our contact information and the YouTube link as well if you ever need to come back and watch this webinar. So thank you all so much, and go Jacks.